Ample greetings, our outstanding devotees, and welcome to a good podcast. My name's Joel.
And I'm Megan.
And today, we are going to be solving a very important issue.
Listen, the bees are dying. There's no two ways about it. The bees are dying. And I think that it's our responsibility as citizens of this world to find a solution for that. So we've both come up with our own idea of a replacement for bees so that we can continue the pollination cycle, ensure that our plants don't all die like what happens in the bee movie. Um, so we came up with two separate designs by ourselves, and we're going to each kind of fight for our own design and advocate for why it's the best replacement for bees.
And then on the flip side of the coin, we're also going to be fighting and trying to tear down and burn to the ground with no mercy the other idea to show that ours is superior, because there's no good debate without tears shed.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
If one of us isn't crying by the end of this whole episode was a failure.
Exactly. And some of you may be asking, wait, why don't you guys just bring bees back? Aren't they good enough? But that's the thing, they're good enough. But nature, when it designs things, naturally gives them flaws. Like human spines, they're really crooked, and I think that's the first thing to go with old age, and it's just not that designed well. Bees probably have the same thing going, not necessarily their spine.
Do bees have spines?
Do they? I don't. It's just puffball in there. That's all it is.
It's just squish. That's it.
It's squish and a giant vat for honey, and that's it.
So that makes sense.
And a little sound box to make the buzzing noise, and you got a bee. That's it.
Perfect. Yeah. That we are scientists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So if you can't tell, there's going to be a lot of scientific research that have gone into these designs because we know our stuff about bees, as proven by our facts.
Yeah. These are true facts that are coming to you today.
Yeah. Heed every word.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. There's not a word wasted.
No, it's all accurate. If science says differently, listen to us first, science second. We are now above science in the great tier of information.
Exactly. Yes, yeah.
All right, so do you want to start us off? I want to hear about your bee recreation or
yeah. The thing, yeah.
The thing that is bee.
Okay, so it should be on screen now. What I designed, it's called the Beequel because it's the sequel to the bees, hence the Beequel. So what it is you have this 500 some story tall landmass, and on the top there's the city, and beneath it there's these different slices of working areas, and in the center of the city, you can see in that second photo, there's this giant face with a bunch of teeth and a smile there. So what I was going for is I was trying to have it very similarly shaped to a bee. You can see it has the stripes, it has the 6 legs, and it has the head at the front and the stinger at the bottom. I think that's important to make sure we don't stray too far from nature and screw up stuff we didn't plan for. But at the same time, I wanted to take some technical and creative liberties by making it, instead of 5 centimeters tall, making it 500 stories tall. I figured that might be a necessary thing to do.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. So the way the Beequel works is it crawls around on the ground and it seeks out the top 1% of people who have polluted the most in the world. So if there's a person who owns 500 factories or something that's just spewing out smoke, he will find them. Maybe there's someone who just drives a lot of cars and disproportionately creates a lot of bad stuff in the air. The Beequel will go after them too. And so what he does, he crawls around on the ground with his little legs, and then he inhales all the bad people into the facilities. And then once he's gotten everyone and he's ready to go, he then goes up onto his stinger, and you can see a little propeller comes out at the bottom, and that is that's what helps him fly. So he uses that and he flies into the air. And then you can see once he's upright, he's like this giant fortress, fully sustainable. There's farms in there, there's food, there's water, there's jobs. the people, they live in the city at the top, and then in the bottom they all work and they all garden flowers and they collect the pollen and then they put it in these like pipes, and the pollen shoots out the fan at the bottom. So not only is this helping take away the largest polluters in the world, but it's also helping spread pollen across flowers around the world, hence taking out two birds with one 500-story bee machine building thing. And you can see the little hexagons on the side. Those are each like little they're like floors. You can see in the larger diagram there, each of those little things is a few floors inside the work area. So yeah, that is my beak wool design, and I think it's extremely effective at not only replacing bees but exceeding what they could ever do. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, it's big.
Well, go big or go home, I thought, you know?
I yeah. I
Mhm.
think that this is a very compelling design.
Yeah, I am excited to hear what you think about it in the next section, but first, do you want to go and explain your bee replacement thing?
Oh, of course, I would love
Yes.
to. So, this is my friend. His name is B-Boy. Let me just walk you through my thought process first because I feel like that needs to be explained. So, I was thinking like replacement for bees, but also helps keep bees alive, you know? I was like,
Mhm.
let's do both. And well, actually, my very first thought was, how do the bees get the pollen to stick to them? Hairy legs. So I gave him hairy legs. And then I worked from the legs up. So then I was like, if his whole body's a hive, it keeps the bees safe, and then etc. etc. So let me walk you through this. So
Okay.
in the middle of his body, it's a big beehive.
Mhm.
So that's where bees can continue to live and do their natural pollination process, honey collecting, etc. So that still continues. The hive is also solar powered to keep the energy flowing in Bee Boy so he can continue to live.
Mhm.
Um, so the entrance to the hive is actually on the bottom, like where his belly is, so that bees can enter undetected and hopefully won't get killed. Um, my thought was also that because his body is a hive, there will be bees swarming him all the time, which
Mhm.
would keep the people away while he does his
Mm.
job. So
Mhm.
Bee Boy walks around in the fields and he does pretty similar what bees do, where his hairs on his legs pick up the pollen and spread it around as he walks around because his legs are very, very hairy and the static cling gets the pollen attached to it. Furthermore, the longer hairs are also like tiny straws, like what the bees use to suck up the nectar. And so he
Oh,
also slurps up nectar. So his legs both attract pollen through static cling and ingest nectar to bring it to the hive. So
okay.
next I want to talk about his claws. So he has claws that are kind of hook shaped and they point down. So that gives him stability in the ground so he can run fast. But it also makes sure that like if an animal were to come attack, he could like kick him and it would get him, because sometimes raccoons and other silly beasts like that want to attack hives. But the claws are pointed down so they don't like cut the plants. So he's good for that.
Mhm.
He also has his beautiful smiling face. So his head is actually like a ball and socket design. So it's attached to his body by like a magnet. So the head rotates 360 degrees, so it acts as a scarecrow against birds, so it can like point up right at the bird, and they're like, "Oh, someone's looking at us, fly away." He can also smile at humans to assert his dominance.
Mhm.
Um, as well, he's got a pipe at his backside, which is a honey processor and dispensary. Because if the hive fills up with honey, then the hive becomes honey bound and it won't continue to do work, and that's very bad.
Mhm.
So, by having an easy way to just excrete the honey, then that's not even a problem. So,
Yeah.
in essence, Bee Boy allows the bees to live within him, so it keeps the bees alive, but he also can fulfill the bees' jobs himself. So he's just got like all these different layers to him, and I'm pretty proud of what I've made.
He is a wonderful being slash creature slash thing that exists.
I also forgot to mention
Oh yeah.
he's about 6 feet tall.
Oh, okay, okay. Like a modest height, so it's not like super intimidating, but still with authority.
Yeah, exactly. Like I want him to be visible in the fields.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. Um, so I think our plan now is going to be we're going to take a few minutes to come up with some rebuttals slash points that we want to discuss that may be flaws about the other's design. So we're going to take a few minutes to do that, and then we'll be right back and we'll bring those up. So we will be back in just a second.
All right, we are back. We have come up with some pretty solid points against our opponent. So we each came up with 3 different points, kind of going against the other person's creation, and then after we both try and take down the other person's B replacement, then we're gonna have a chance to kind of defend ourselves, then have some closing statements. So I'm gonna start.
Okay,
I
sweet.
I have some questions about
Uh-oh.
your so-called bequel.
Uh
So my first point is that how many would have to actually exist in order to surpass bees' current pollination abilities? Like, how many could we actually make to keep pollination going sufficiently?
mhm.
Because the world's pretty big and it's got a small propeller. And
Yeah.
so even if it flies really high, it's not going to cover a lot of area. And I'm also
Mhm.
thinking, building off that, how many can we make without also becoming polluters ourselves through the production of it? You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
All the city parts. So that's my first point.
Mhm.
My second point, which I think is very pressing, so my understanding is that it eats top polluters, right?
Yeah, in a sense.
And oftentimes people who are like top polluters are pretty rich from their production,
Mhm.
right? So what
Yeah.
if all these like richy people get together and they launch a full-scale attack against the bequel? Could it protect
Ooh.
itself?
Hmm.
And would people die?
Okay, yeah.
So that's posing a health risk, I would say.
Potentially.
Yeah, and finally, when the bequel lands on the
Mhm.
ground, wouldn't its sheer mass and size crush and kill plants and thus contribute to the problem?
Hmm. You know what? You bring up some fair points, but I think I have some defense to work with. So I'll have to think about that, but yeah, you do bring up some fair points.
Okay, I'm just
However,
oh
although you have some good points, you seem to have overlooked a few key features
oh I
with
didn't
yours.
I didn't like the paper flick of
Yeah, I got my 3 points with questionable grammar right here. Okay, so the first thing is the scarecrow feature. I understand the smile is intimidating to birds. However, a smile is a universally inviting expression to humans. So, even if you have the bees to fight off humans, you'll still have a lot of humans pull towards it because of the inviting smile, and that may result in casualties either with the bees or potentially with the people. So that could be an issue. Another
Okay.
problem I've seen with it is that so you have a small hole in the bottom for bees to enter and exit. However, a common animal that lives in fields are deer mice, and they like to have small spaces to huddle up in for shelter. Now, if a deer mice saw this climbable leg at the very top having this small hole they could tuck themselves into, they may feel incentivized to climb up into the hole in the bee boy, clogging the entrance and exit way. So not only bees couldn't enter or exit, but then the mice would also get stuck there potentially because of the honey, which would just slow down the process.
Okay, yeah.
Um, and my final one is So, B-Boy, I understand the hairy legs have their advantages, but with all of that pollen and all of that hair, plus grass constantly brushing against his legs, I can imagine he would probably get very itchy. But when you have these sharp nails, and those are the only appendages he could possibly use to scratch his legs, isn't he bound to hurt himself that way? I feel like there could be some health risks with B-Boy and potentially having to itch his legs. And even if he didn't, then he would just be in a perpetual state of itchiness, and I can't imagine that would be very pleasant for him.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting. Well, I respectfully disagree with all your
Oh,
arguments because B-Boy is perfect.
oh,
Okay.
okay. You may say so, but I'd like to see your proof.
Well, I have it, but I think that I should give you the opportunity to defend yourself first before I absolutely destroy you.
Okay, so to address the first point, um, so we wouldn't really have to make a bunch of them because it's so big that all of the polluters it would be collecting, I think, would be contained in this one single thing. So I don't think we'd have to make a bunch. And even if making the single one was a lot of pollution, I would consider it an investment because even if we go a little over the pollution, the amount of pollution it will stop in the future will make up for it, and it would have some sort of like healing effect on the environment around it with the pollination. Um, and even if that doesn't work, what we could do is we could enlist the bees to help us build it, and then in exchange we'll give them shelter inside of the beequel. So I think that although pollution may be a potential issue, it wouldn't cause nearly as much of a threat as it seems it would. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, and for the second point, so although it would seem to be an incentive to attack the Bequel, I think that because of the rich people that are inside of it, I don't think there would be much of an incentive for rich people to attack it, as they would be potentially risking their own safety, so they wouldn't go after it. Environmentalists, I don't think, would go after it because they would be then shooting themselves in the foot if they took down the Bequel. And because of that, with that eliminates most of the possible threats. So, with the occasional threat, the legs on the side, I feel, would do a good job at kicking away any of the potential projectiles thrown at the Bequel. So, although, again, it could be considered a threat, I wouldn't see it as becoming much of an issue. Um, and then for the final point of wouldn't it crush slash destroy any of the flowers it lands on. So I, it may seem so, but the legs, they're very small surface area at the bottom, proportional to the body. So when it lands, it wouldn't do much damage because all of the surface area is centered on these like six little points with the legs. So I think that if it stopped in a place for a while, the shade might kill some flowers, but I think that the amount of flowers it would kill wouldn't be a huge amount. So it should probably be okay. I think it will be okay. It will be okay. I gotta sound confident with
Yeah, I was
that.
I mean,
Yeah,
whatever you say, Joel.
the
I
Bequel is flawless, and there are no issues with it. And I've proven all issues to be false. There we go. Sweet.
all issues to be false.
Haha. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
First B.
Well,
Wow, that's the first B pun. Okay.
I'm
Jeez.
shocked that
Yeah.
I'm shocked that we didn't include that already.
Mhm.
Um,
All right.
well, listen.
Okay.
I still think that B-Boy is superior. And let me quell your fears on the B-Boy's capabilities. So first you bring
Okay.
up the Scarecrow. You believe his smile will invite people.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps, but I think that if you approach a smiling being surrounded by bees, you maybe deserve to get stung. That's natural selection at work. All right. So, what's more likely is someone would be like, hey, a friendly face. Approach him, immediately realize the swarm of bees around it, realize that maybe you shouldn't go near it, and then warn others not to. So, actually, a smile that invites people helps people spread the word to leave the bee boy alone, because
Okay.
if you approach it, notice the bees, you're going to tell your friends, like, hey, I saw this creepy smiling thing and it had a lot of bees. Don't
Yeah.
go there. don't go near them.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, as well with your concern about the deer mice.
Mhm.
Interesting, but I've got to let you know that the bee boy is always awake. He never sleeps. Bee boy is eternal, okay? So if B Boy's walking around and he feels a little mice, well, you better believe he's gonna use those powerful legs and kick that thing off, alright? That's
Oh,
why he's got the legs. That's why he's got the claws to protect the bees, okay? He's very strong, Joel. He's
okay.
very strong,
Okay.
and mice are no match for B
Hmm.
Boy. Now, listen.
Okay.
Now, if we want to go the non-violent route, he can
Mhm.
also temporarily close the entrance to the hive to
Mm.
block unwanted guests, but
Okay.
worst comes to worst, he can do a pretty strong kick. Get rid of that problem right away.
Mhm.
Finally, you're worried he'd get itchy,
Mhm.
which is I appreciate your concern for B-Boy. I respect that. Now,
Mhm.
you may know that sometimes when bears are itchy, they like to rub up against rocks and trees.
Okay.
B-Boy will do much the same. He
Mhm.
can he can scritch himself on a nice rock or a tree, and that makes him feel better.
Uh,
He's also waterproof on his Legos,
okay.
so he is tall enough to go for a dip in the lake in the shallow parts without getting the bees in the water.
Mhm.
So he's got a couple ways to clear the itchiness, but honestly, he gets used to it, and so it doesn't bother him as much as time goes on because he's doing his job.
Interesting. All right. So I guess we've made our points and we've made our rebuttals. So I guess all that's left now is our closing statements. So I guess I can go first with mine, if you're good for that, and then you can go afterwards.
Sounds good.
Sweet. So I think that with the Beaquel, sure, it seems daunting. It's a decently large structure compared to what humanity is used to making. But I think that we need to look at it as an investment. It may take a bit of pollution to make at the start, but the amount of pollution it's not only going to negate but remedy, I think, will vastly surpass any of the pollution that it took to create it. More so, we'll be making friends with the bees, so that we'll have some allies in the future if there's ever a threat in the future where it has an Achilles heel of bees. We will have something to use against it. I think that although it is extremely strong with its sheer size, any attack could easily be fended off with the little legs. Um, and I think that it's would not have much of a negative effect of wherever it lands, whether it be in a field or in the middle of New York. I think that there would be a minimal amount of destruction, considering the benefits it would provide to our world. So I think the Bequel is an amazing and wonderful solution to the problem of bees disappearing.
Fascinating.
Hmm.
Truly, truly fascinating. I I think that the Bequel's great. I think that the Bequel is better than bees, but I think that the bee boy is the best. Okay.
Okay.
I think that the bee boy is friendly. I think
Hmm.
that he fights for the greater good.
Okay.
I think that I think that the bee boy is eco-friendly, economically friendly. I think
Hmm.
that his body is a bee house, and I think that he's got a great smile, all right? B-boy's got a great attitude, and I got you got to respect that. I
So
think that there's no better replacement for bees than the B-boy.
So, sorry, one thing I'm just not super clear on, is there just one B-boy, or is there the
There's
B-boys?
many, Joel.
There's
There's so many.
So- more than humans could ever know.
They wait, and then they appear where,
I see.
where you least
Okay.
expect them.
All right. Okay. So that was a very good, hearty, respectable, wonderful, amazing debate. Um,
Adjectives.
exactly. Yes. But we have one more thing I think we want to do, and that is okay, so we're new to this, so we're gonna try and have it where on YouTube there should be an eye in the top right corner. If you click on that, you should be able to vote on which of these bee replacements you like the best. We want to see your results, so please take the time, submit your vote, let us know which of these do you think we should pursue as humanity to replace the bees. Now, there's a chance we can't get that working, and in that case, we'll have a Google form in the description. So look out for that if it doesn't work, but one or the other should be there. So
Yeah,
please do that.
I think you know what the right decision is.
And I think you know, well, I think you know what the friendly decision is, but then you also know what the correct decision
Well,
is.
I think
One may
I think you know that the friendly decision and the correct decision are the same one.
I think that you may be hearing some lies from someone else that's not me. But who am I to say? Who am I to say?
Yeah, who are you to say? Exactly.
What? Who are you to say? Not me. I was saying that from the perspective of you. So,
What?
anyways, this has been a very constructive debate with no salt whatsoever.
Yeah.
um, well, I think that's it. Do we have anything else we want to cover with this?
I think we've done it. We've solved all the world's problems.
It's done. It is done.
You're welcome.
You can send us we have a Patreon,
Yes.
PayPal in description. Just
Yeah.
something small, $50 a month.
Yeah.
No.
You give us $50 a month and we will say one letter of your name every podcast episode.
Yeah. Listen out for it and comment the timestamp in the description.
That's a great deal.
Yeah. And hey, hit the what's it the
The bell
silver
icon.
rank
Oh,
$100 a month, and we'll
oh.
actually do two of the same letters built into a word, and we'll even cough your name at the very end if you listen closely. It'll be in the background, but it will be there.
Like the music will be playing loudly over top of it, but if you crank your volume all the way up, you will hear what sounds a little bit like your name.
We'll actually we'll have an intern in the background have a cough in the subtly, and if you listen closely, it'll be there.
Yeah, honestly, the cough won't actually be your name. You'll just know that the cough is directed to you, and that's all that matters.
It's the spirit of it that matters.
Exactly.
It's
the thought that counts, and we think that you are worth a cough.
Yeah, so hey, consider donating $100 a month.
Yes.
What can it hurt?
I mean, it definitely won't hurt. I don't know if it would help,
yeah.
but it won't hurt.
And hey, maybe we can, if we raise enough money, we can construct the universally appraised Beequel and
I
have
think
that
you mean
going.
B-boy, but okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, if we want to waste our money, then yeah, that's a good idea. But
hey,
well,
he's listening, Joel, and he's hurt.
Okay, well, you know what? The audience, I think, should decide, so please vote. This is important. We need to settle this.
Yeah, this argument needs to stop. It's been going on for too long.
It's been painful every second of it.
It's been years.
Yeah, we've only brought this to light. This is our last resort. We need you guys to decide. Go vote, please do. Okay.
Yeah, it's your democratic right. Vote.
Yeah.
Anyways, so please vote. If you don't, we'll be sad. Anyways,
I'm already crying.
He's crying right now. We did promise someone would cry. So, thank you for listening, and we offer our ample goodbyes, our outstanding devotees.